I would like to take, for example, this scripture here and look at it under a microscope and see how the different versions recount this verse. First, we'll look at it in the King James Version. It says, "Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink." That's pretty straightforward. There are a couple of complicated words in there. Prove, beseech, and pulse would be the first three that I see. But let's see how the New King James handles this. It says, "Please test your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink." Sounds like a very valid translation. Let's go down to the NIV. "Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink." And finally, let's go down to the New Living Translation. "Please test us for 10 days on a diet of vegetables and water," said Daniel. I find this very interesting. The last one says Daniel. The script does not say says Daniel at this point. The New Living Translation is an idea for idea translation. It's not word for word, where the New American Standard would be and the New King James and the King James would be more literal translations. The NIV and the NLT would be more of an idea for idea translation. But words matter. So let's look at this and see what we can see on the different words here. First we have, "Prove thy servants." Now I'm going to go to AV 1611 and I'm going to look up the word prove because I want to know what that means. Prove means to try, to ascertain some unknown quality or truth by an experiment or a test or a standard. Well, that makes pretty good sense. The guys are asking to give us a test, an experiment for over 10 days to see if we would do good on this different diet. So that fits pretty good. Prove does. The other versions translate prove as test or try. And that works too, doesn't it? Because here we have to try by a test or a standard. So we got a pretty good word for word translation here. So prove and test and try are equal. The next one says thy. Well, David says, "Prove thy servants." Thy is a singular possessive. In other words, they are his servants. The Meltzer is put on charge of them. They are over him. He is asking the Meltzer, "Can I have pulse instead of the king's meat to eat?" While in the new translations it says your, which is a plural possession, which means anybody that's over them. We're just begging anybody for this opportunity. This is more concise and points straight back to the Meltzer. Now you say, "Dave, those are pretty little things. I don't know in the grand scheme of things that really matters." And I could agree with you and say, I could probably read those and be just as well off if I didn't, although I do see a little bit more conciseness in the King James. So let's look at the next section here, and it says, "I beseech thee." And that beseech is kind of an odd word, Dave. I don't know if I really understand beseech. So let's go back to our AV1611.com, and here we have beseech, to entreat, to supplicate, to implore, to ask and pray with urgency. What we're doing here is Daniel is begging the Meltzer for the opportunity to be tested in this area. So this word means to beg, to plead, to pray and ask for with urgency. The other ones translated this as please. Now, when I hear this, I think of them politely asking their supervisor if they can do this. But there is a time when please does mean to beg. And I get it whenever my daughter, when she was little, wanted something so bad, and she would say, "Please, please, 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 please." So if there would have been please, please, oh please, a row of those, that would mean the same thing as beseech. But just one please doesn't necessarily mean that. Now we have a difference between asking politely and begging with urgency. There's another tool out there called Strong's Concordance, and you can pick those up anywhere. You can find one online for free. And every word in the Hebrew and Greek is listed there in the Bible. Here, the word that has been translated as beseech is Strong's Hebrew word for H, 4994. And that Hebrew word means in Hebrew to entreaty, to attempt to persuade someone to do something, to plea. So here we are backing up what beseech means. It means to beg, to try to persuade him, to do it with urgency, not just a simple, please, can we do this? You say, Dave, that's still just a little bit of a difference. But it is a little bit of a difference. It's a big difference. I beseech thee. A singular person, the thee on the end means a singular person, but the object, the one who's receiving the action. So, I am begging thee, the Meltzer, begging his immediate supervisor. Let's take another step down here, and let's go to give us pulse to eat. Now, every translation except for the King James says it's vegetables. And I have to ask yourself, why would the Meltzer or the steward or soldier or officer, or whatever translation you have, may change that to that. But in the King James, it denotes a proper name, the proper name for that position. Why would the Meltzer not want to have the boys eat a vegetarian diet? That's a good question, and I've asked myself that many times until I really studied this out. When I think of vegetarian diet, I think of all sorts of fantastic vegetables. I think of lettuce and cabbage and carrots and tomatoes. Well, those might be a fruit. But all sorts of different things, beets and plums and all sorts of fantastic things to eat. Why would the Meltzer be so concerned with the boys eating this diet? Well, if I look up the word pulse at av1611.com, it says leguminous plants or their seeds. The plants whose pericarp is a legume or a pod, as a bean or a pea. Oh, here we go with another complicated word, pericarp. What does that mean? It means the fruit, the part that we would eat, the stuff that we like. The peach is a fruit. It's the pericarp, and there's three different pieces of that fruit. But its fruit is beans or peas or seeds. It's not vegetables, but the seeds that the vegetables would come from. So that would be like me going to the store and buying a packet of burpee seeds and eating the seeds. Or pouring them into a bowl and making them into a mush. Or just getting gonzo beans and you put them in the water, let them soak up, and then you eat them. So that's what we're talking about here. They are eating beans or something we would probably call mush. It's just a bland mixture of nothing. It has no real nutritional value to it at all. And you say, well, this makes sense. If they were eating only mush, now we know why the Meltzer was so worried that he was going to lose his head because the boys would look sick and anemic. This is a miracle. God blessed Daniel and his compadres, and not only blessed them, but made them more fat and more healthier than the other boys eating the best food in the nation. This is a miracle. By translating this as vegetable, we have done away with the miraculous event here. God did something miraculous here. He took boys eating mush and water and gave them a healthy and more fat and fit look than the other boys who were eating the best of the best that man could offer. This is truly a miracle. The reason the Meltzer was so worried is because it would have been beans or seeds and not vegetables to eat.